What's up guys, and welcome to another episode of the F1 2017 Road to Ferrari. Back once again with a double episode today. We're going to be doing this till the end of the season. Today we have Spa and Monza, two of the most iconic circuits on the F1 calendar. I'm very much looking forward to it. I hope you guys are too. Do make sure to leave a like if you're enjoying. And also, if you could share it wherever on social media, that would mean a massive amount to me. You know, it really does help. And yeah, without further ado, we are going to get into the Belgian Grand Prix. And as you can see, it is chucking it down with rain. And yeah, seeing as we have scaled up to 2 races an episode, I've brought it down to 25% races for the rest of the season. There you can see Kimi Raikkonen leads from his Finnish compatriot Valtteri Bottas in the championship, and Ferrari have a little bit of an imposing lead now at the top of the constructor standings. But getting into the grid, it's the Mercedes on top once again in qualifying. Lewis Hamilton will be leading the pack away, and then you've got the Ferraris on the second row. Perez with a brilliant P5, and Giovinazzi managed to put it in 7th place ahead of Daniel Ricciardo. And yeah, this is going to be incredibly interesting to see how the race pans out. You can see right down the field there, it's pretty much the familiar names at the bottom, with Alonso out qualifying Julian Palmer. But now getting on to the formation lap, you can see the comparison between Giovinazzi and Grosjean. So it's now 8-4 to Giovinazzi in qualifying, with Grosjean just shading it in the race. But Giovinazzi has a lot more points at this stage of the season, 51 to Grosjean's 32. So he'll be looking to extend that gap today. But again, not a bad qualifying from Grosjean, just a very good one from Giovinazzi. You can see the strategy. It's going to be a no-stop race if all goes to plan. Some drivers may go for the one-stop and have fresh inters towards the end, but it's looking as if we're going to have rain throughout. And now, as we go to the 5 red lights for the Belgian Grand Prix, we are away, and it's not a great start from Giovinazzi, just trying to minimise the wheel spin as much as possible. Ricciardo now trying to go round his outside as we go into turn 1. The famous La Source. He has got Ricciardo round his outside. Is he going to be able to get better traction? Yes, he does. Very nice traction. And almost being able to take a look at Verstappen as they go towards Eau Rouge. There's a lot of spray, but Giovinazzi right up behind Max Verstappen. And now it's, as they go through Radion, you can see a little snap of oversteer there. So it's going to be very, very difficult on this first lap when the cars are obviously very heavy still, but going into the big braking zone now. And you can just see that the cars ahead just sort of having a little bit more of a gap, because you can see behind Daniel Ricciardo trying to take a look at Giovinazzi. And now well into this middle sector, you can see another heavy braking zone, one of the only ones around this Spa track. You can see taking it in 3rd gear, and as they go through No Name, we now skip onto the end of lap 1, where you can see Giovinazzi still in P7, but he's got Ricciardo right behind him. But as they go into the bus stop chicane, now we can see that the Haas car is looking very good under braking. Try telling that to Roman Grosjean. But as they go across the start-finish line for the end of lap 1, you can see Giovinazzi now trying to get a good run on Verstappen, and if he can get as good a run as he did on lap 1, he may have a chance down to Eau Rouge. And sure enough, that is the case. He's going to be side by side now with Verstappen, who almost squeezes him into the wall. But looks as if Giovinazzi has got the move done as they go up Eau Rouge. But no, he's got a tag from behind. And that is it. That is race over. Can we believe it? As we take a look at the replay, Giovinazzi has been taken out by Max Verstappen. You can quite clearly see there on the replay. Verstappen really should be bailing. I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts down in the comments on what you think on that. But for me, it's pretty clear cut that it's Verstappen's fault. He's taken himself out of the race as well. And for the first time this season, Antonio Giovinazzi doesn't finish a race. So no points this afternoon, but it was a Ferrari win for Sebastian Vettel, who gets his title charge back on track, although it's going to be very difficult to do so in the last 7 rounds. It was a Ferrari 1-2, even though it was a Mercedes 1-2 in qualifying. So Raikkonen extends his lead at the top of the championship. And yeah, pretty much proving that Raikkonen is very OP in career mode. But wow, what a short race that ended up being. It lasted just over 1 lap. And as we see the guys celebrating there, we're going to take a look at the full race classification now. So it's Hamilton in third, with Ricciardo managing fourth, pretty much hauling Red Bull through and finishing ahead of Valtteri Bottas. So I was very intrigued to see that it says 3 stops, Daniel Ricciardo. Sorry, no stops. But there was Lewis Hamilton, who did end up making a stop. So, yeah, there was quite a variation in strategy. And Giovinazzi and Verstappen were the only cars not to finish. But, yeah, it would have been interesting if we could have stayed on at that one stopper to see where the no stopper, to see where Giovinazzi could have ended up finishing. But still, no points this afternoon. And as we take a look now at the drivers' standings, Grosjean has slightly closed the gap on Giovinazzi, but still, he does hold that P9 in the championship, and there was actually no movers at all in the drivers' standings, which is very interesting to see. Raikkonen with a 39-point lead now at the top, and Ferrari leading by 37 points. Force India now are starting to pull away a little bit in 4th position. Of course, that DNF did not help the cause whatsoever. So, yeah, quite a few points to make up, but still staying ahead of Williams. And obviously, as a result of that, Grosjean outraced, got a fastest lap, and more points than Giovinazzi, so he's closing the gap. And as we now go into Monza, this is a big, big race. It's Giovinazzi's home race, and it's also the Tifosi are going to be out in force and pretty much judging to see whether Giovinazzi is ready for that Ferrari seat. You can see there the pole sitter, Valtteri Bottas, so it's another good day at the office for Mercedes in qualifying. And now as we take a look at the grid, we'll be able to see exactly who is starting where. So Vettel puts it in P2, just behind Bottas, with Hamilton in 3rd and Raikkonen in 4th. Then it's the Red Bulls, and then in 7th it's Massa, and 8th Giovinazzi, just a 10th ahead of his teammate, with Perez rounding out the top 10. So once again, Giovinazzi has out-qualified Romain Grosjean, but this time he's going to be looking to try and, you know, actually make that materialise into a good result. Before we get into the race, you can see here, we got Chris talking to Giovinazzi, and the good news is there is a new chassis part for the car, so looking good. Obviously, it shouldn't probably matter too much around Monza, but, you know, when we go to Singapore and the likes of Suzuka, you know, that is really, really going to come in handy. Obviously, now Giovinazzi 9-4 up in qualifying, so Grosjean is really going to have to up his game. But fortunately for Romain, he has been racing very well this season, and Giovinazzi's really got to prove that he is not just a sort of a one-trick pony in qualifying. He's got a very good starting position today, and if he can get ahead of Massa into turn 1, he's got a very good chance of being the best of the rest once again. Which, yeah, has pretty much been the case all season. But now, as we go to the 5 red lights for the second race of this afternoon, we've got Giovinazzi starting on the soft tyres, and away we go here in Monza. A lot of wheel spin from Felipe Massa, and an awful start for Max Verstappen. Even though Giovinazzi is starting on the harder tyre, he is already past Verstappen going into turn 1. There's a lot of locking up going on into the first corner, and as we go into the first variante, it looks as if Massa has just held his position over Giovinazzi as we've got yellow flags behind. Looks as if someone may have gone off, and sure enough, we have a virtual safety car deployed. So, wow, an interesting start to this race. Giovinazzi, of course, on that soft tyre, trying to get the temperature into the tyres as we go back racing again. So Massa looks as if he's got a very good restart, and Verstappen is also trying to take a look at Giovinazzi, but I think he is just too far back as they go into the Parabolica. So we're going through the final corner. It looks as if whoever is in the lead, I think it's Valtteri Bottas, has already pulled a pretty extensive lead at the end of this first lap. And yes, sure enough, it is Valtteri Bottas. And whoever is in P2 is really holding this field up now. And is Giovinazzi going to go for a move into turn 1 on Felipe Massa as we switch to the replay camera? And it doesn't look as if he is. He sort of took a little look down the inside, but there was nothing really doing there. So, yeah. Obviously, we've got a 13-lap race, a pretty short one as it's only a 25% race. So Giovinazzi is going to have to make moves early on, but now he's looking behind him. You can see Max Verstappen trying to go down the inside there, but it doesn't quite work. Giovinazzi goes very wide though, and surely Max is going to be able to take a look now on the back straight before they get to the final corner at the Parabolica. Is he going to go down the inside? Looks as if there's a couple of cars. Also Sergio Perez, I believe, in his mirrors as well. That pink Force India, unmistakable in the mirrors. And Verstappen and Perez go side by side into the final corner. And I think Verstappen has just about prevailed. But you can see now, it's almost 3 abreast going into the first corner. Who is going to come out on top? Verstappen has been completely boxed in. And it's looking like Perez now is going to get the move done on Giovinazzi as well. As they go into the first corner, Perez goes over the curb and almost forces Giovinazzi off the track. So he has to cut that first corner, but does have to prevail that position to Sergio Perez. So you've really got to get the elbows out and dirty if you are to make a move into that first corner. That's exactly what Perez did. But obviously Sergio is on the super soft tyres, meaning that Giovinazzi should be quicker in the second stint. So we're going to take a look at the replay now. You can see Perez just goes down the inside and clips that inside curb, which is exactly what forces Giovinazzi out wide. But still, obviously the FIA allowed that position to be taken. And at the end of lap 4 now, we've got Giovinazzi trying to take a look back at Perez. So he gets on the DRS at the start of lap 5. Believe it or not, we're almost halfway through this Grand Prix now. And he's closing and closing on the Mexican. Tries to take a little dive down the inside. And he's gaining and gaining, but doesn't manage to get that position. So Perez now going off into the distance. And before long, I think he's going to catch up on the train ahead. Which obviously at the back of it we have Felipe Massa still by the looks of it. But you can see on the mini-map, if we take a look out to the leader, which is Valtteri Bottas, he has got a massive lead at the moment. And yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how big a margin he does manage to pull. So later on now in lap 5, it looks as if a few cars may be looking to come into the pit lane at the end of this lap. And we've got yellow flags up ahead as well. And pulling off to the side, looks as if it's Sergio Perez. Yes, it is. He's got an engine problem or a mechanical failure of some sort. Possibly electronics, because there's no smoke coming out from the back. And that is awful, awful luck for the Mexican. The virtual safety car has been deployed and Giovinazzi actually comes into the pit lane. So it's a very early stop and he's going to have to go more than half of this race on the softer tyres. So you can see a lot of cars taking advantage of that virtual safety car, including Daniel Ricciardo and Felipe Massa. So Giovinazzi decides to do the same as he gets held up, but shouldn't cost him too much, hopefully. And he comes out, and this is going to be interesting to see what can occur. Obviously, pitting behind the virtual safety car will do him some good, but the question is, will these super soft tyres hold out to the end of the race? If you think all the way back to Bahrain in round 3, Giovinazzi had a puncture as a result of, running tyres too long. So is that going to be the case again this afternoon? We will see, as the virtual safety car is ending. I don't think Giovinazzi lost any time in that because he gained, he got so much time in hand. But now you can see emerging from the pit lane on the next lap is Sebastian Vettel, so he has left it way too late. Ferrari have completely messed up on their home turf, and Vettel has gone from P2 all the way down into P10, so we've still got a few more cars to pit, but still Giovinazzi is ahead of Sebastian Vettel. And now later on lap 7 you can see Giovinazzi takes a little bit too much curb, and surely that is going to invite Vettel right down the inside. And the Haas and Ferrari don't want to be colliding, especially if Giovinazzi does want a seat at Ferrari next season, but he's trying to go around the outside of the 4-time world champion. It looks as if Vettel has just about got the position, but Giovinazzi is going to hold fire because he does have the DRS, and surely he's going to be able to get past Vettel once again. As you can see, emerging from the pit lane now is Kimi Raikkonen, so it's going to be 3 abreast. It's going to be a Haas and 2 Ferraris. Who is going to get out on top? Raikkonen is down the inside, but Giovinazzi jumps both of the Ferraris in the pit stage. Would you believe it? Incredible scenes. And he is up to P8 at the moment, and still I think a couple of drivers have got to come into the pit lane. So it's looking, in fact, like a net P5 at the moment. He's also closing in on Felipe Massa, who managed to pull a bit of a gap when Giovinazzi got held up in the pits. But surely now the Ferraris are going to be wanting to get past on home soil. Raikkonen takes a little look down the inside, but no doing, although there was a little lock-up there from Giovinazzi, who is now up into P6. And I think it is just Carlos Sainz that's left to come into the pit lane. Yes, sure enough, Sainz does come into the pit lane at the end of lap 9. And it's Sebastian Vettel and Kimi Raikkonen who are fighting behind. And it looks as if they've completely dropped off the pace. And at the moment, Giovinazzi is focused on trying to get ahead of Felipe Massa. So it's going to be interesting just to take a look at the gaps now. So start of lap 11, it comes down to 1.3 seconds. And then a lap later, it's just over 1 second. So it's agonizingly close. And now with 1 lap remaining, it's 1.1 seconds. So will Giovinazzi be able to make a move? He's still got 1 DRS zone to go as they go now into the first corner. How much is he going to be able to gain? It's a big lockup again on the inside. And are his tyres just going to have sort of given up on him at this stage? It's going to be interesting to see whether he does get that DRS down the back straight on the run down to Ascari. But now as they go towards the second chicane, a horrible corner to try and get right. Giovinazzi, in fact, goes purple through sector 1. He goes a little bit wide through there. I think the tyres are just starting to give up on the fronts. They just weren't providing the grip whatsoever. And it looks as if he's possibly just outside that 1 second window. We're going to have to wait and see. There is the detection zone. And now as he goes through the second Lesmo, no, he doesn't have the DRS. So I think he's going to have to settle for P5, but I think Giovinazzi would have snapped your hands off if you'd have said that to him at the start of the race. Yes, a 1.4 second gap to Massa, and there you can see a lot of understeer, up to 50% wear on the tyres now, so no surprise he is experiencing a lack of grip. Just 1 corner remaining, and Raikkonen and Vettel have been fighting so much that it doesn't look as if they are going to even challenge Giovinazzi into the final corner, who goes very wide, over 50% wear. But Lewis Hamilton wins the Italian Grand Prix, and Giovinazzi comes around the final corner to take P5 in front of his home crowd, and he will be loving that. The Ferraris almost side by side across the line, but he won't care about where they finished, just so long as they are behind him. But it's Lewis Hamilton who takes victory on Ferrari home territory. That is going to be an interesting one. P2 was Valtteri Bottas, and P3 for Daniel Ricciardo. A very good drive from the Red Bull man, and it's looking a very, very happy Mercedes camp at the end of tonight. So we're going to take a look at the full race results in a minute, but there you can see that that's going to be big for the Constructors' Championship when we get round to seeing it. But yeah, P3 for Ricciardo and 4th for Massa, 5th for Giovinazzi, with his teammate finishing in 9th there. And also a good result for Nico Hülkenberg, not a good one for Max Verstappen whatsoever. I think he must have had issues to finish down in P10, with Esteban Ocon just finishing outside the points in 11th. We just had the one DNF, and that was Sergio Perez. Very unfortunate for him. He definitely deserved points. And the final classified driver was, in fact, Fernando Alonso, so not a great afternoon for him. Also a poor one for Lance Stroll, considering his teammate finished up in P4, only 15th for the Canadian. And getting on to the driver's standings now, you can see Raikkonen does still lead, but it's only just over 1 race victory now from Lewis Hamilton. So a retirement between now and the end of the season could prevent Kimi Raikkonen from taking the World Drivers' Championship. But yeah, Hamilton goes ahead of Bottas in the table, with Giovinazzi still staying in P9 and Haas still staying in P5 in the championship, but significantly closing up on Force India after a poor afternoon for them, where they scored no points. So there's only 5 points between Force India and Haas as they go into the Asian part of the season. But guys, that is the end of today's video. I hope you did enjoy it, and hopefully I will be back tomorrow, possibly Monday, for the Singapore and Malaysian Grand Prix. But until then, I'll catch you guys later. Bye bye.